Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the all-new Way of Wade Ice Blood 2 V2. A lot of times in the Way of Wade line, the V2 is basically just an upper refresh, whereas in this one, there are actually some internal changes to it. Subtle, but actually they do make a difference, and I think it was listening to perhaps some consumer requests. So let's get into it. Thanks, Way of Wade, for sending me a pair of these. Check out. However, this video is by no means sponsored. All opinions, good, bad, and indifferent, as always, all my own. All right, now starting off with the biggest difference between the Ice Blood 2 and the two V2s. Obviously, it's the uppers. It's going to be 50-50 who likes which one more. I tend to like thicker, more substantial material like in the V2. This one's got a lot of stitched in jersey material on the outside, and what's that stitched into is foam underneath of it. It's like this beaded foam underneath. So you're getting a lot more padding on this one. Just feels a lot more like a bear hug around your foot. The tongue on the V2 is also a little bit more padded. The gusset is just a hair different because the tongue is just a little bit thicker and more substantial. Now going into the heel counter, you do get a lot of padding around that. It does come up pretty high around the heel counter. The ankle collar, I mean, it has an okay amount of padding, but most of it comes up in the back. Thing is though, heel slippage on these, really none if you don't have an orthotic in there. If you do have an orthotic, even a bulky one, it's none to mild. The thing with the orthotic is because the shoe is a little bit more narrow, which we'll get into, and the uppers are a little bit more substantial around you, it is tough to fit a bulkier orthotic in these, which we will talk about in the fit section. But just with the padding around the heel counter, really the very like directly posterior portion of the shoe, as well as you know how the laces sit on these, you get a mixture of internal lace eyelets and you get some outrigger lace eyelets. You don't get a runner's knot, but this plastic reinforced double eyelet there, like I said, slippage was fine. So just more of an all-around enveloping upper, and that's kind of how it creates all the stability and stops the heel slippage. Now look at this thing on the breathability test. It did heat up 95.9 degrees, and with the new way I'm doing that breathability test, that is right in the middle of the road, but honestly, on a miracle to me. You look at the breathability mapping, the reason I say that is fog's not getting out anywhere besides where the gusset of the tongue is. That foam padding underneath of it, because you get 2 layers of foam padding in the forefoot. The materials just hold on to heat, or maybe the very outer layer, the uppers, is maybe holding on to a little bit more heat, whereas inside the footbed it isn't terrible. So yeah, I mean, to me that was pretty good. It's middle of the road, but for a shoe with this much substance in the uppers, this much backing up there, you get the synthetic leather everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. Then the upper durability test, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. Yeah, I mean, the burr does start to work that synthetic leather, but it's such a thick piece. And I do believe there is 2 panels of that, I mean, is it gonna matter? I mean, you also get this huge piece of rubber that comes right up over here. So unless you're an extreme dragger, honestly, it should be okay. And even if you do scuff it up, the integrity is still there. I will say also around the heel counter, you do get a rubberized external heel counter on these and then an internal one. So maybe a little bit more weight actually, because it's all rubber back there, but it is imparting a little bit of stability to the shoe. All around though, for a shoe as nimble as this is and kind of low profile in terms of, like we'll talk about in the fit section, it is a pretty rugged containing upper. All right, but getting into the midsole teardown, it doesn't look like there's a huge change in it, but there is a change, and that comes from this integrated insole. So the insole in the Ice Blood is not removable. It is built into the shoe, which part of me likes because it makes the shoe as a whole more of a stable unit. Just everything is together, right? Instead of things moving around in independent parts. But at the same time, you can't remove it to put an orthotic in there or something else, or a different insole. Now in the Ice Blood 2, that is a pretty thick insole in there. In the Ice Blood V2, it's thinner, like it is a lot thinner in there, which I actually thought was gonna make the bounce height higher, which we'll get into in a second, but the rest of the midsole is the same. You get the boom foam on top and the Cloud Plus on the bottom. You get a sandwiched shank, which is double thickness. I mean, that thing is substantial. And honestly, as I broke through this one and this one, I know it's plastic, but it does appear to be like a plastic composite. There's some different materials hanging out in there. I didn't get a chance to ask like exactly, and maybe they're not gonna tell me, but it definitely has some more stiff properties to it, as well as properties of more of like a standard TPU. So yeah, very substantial. Now look at this thing on the bounce height test, which is interesting. 37 centimeters in the rear foot, 36 in the forefoot. Now, the bounce height average on the Ice Blood 2 was 39. So is the insole actually doing more for the bounce on that ball bearing, or is it just that maybe the slab of these foams was maybe just a little bit different, right? Was it a little bit more of a dense cloud plus underneath of it, giving you a little bit more shock absorption? Are these dialed a little bit differently for more shock absorption? I honestly don't know. Like I said, it's a very small difference, so it could just be differences in the sheets of foam that come out, but I did think that was interesting. I kind of like that I could feel the boom foam more in this because the insole was smaller. So to me, I liked it. If you like that really thick insole, you might not. Like I said, it's dealer's choice, just like in the uppers. Do you want a more light, breezy upper? Say that 5 times fast. Or do you want a more like substantial upper? Like I said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All right, beginning into the outsole tread, the pattern is exactly the same as the Ice Blood 2. You basically get this molecular pattern in the forefoot, and then you've got this giant delta pattern going through the rest of the shoe. Then that meets up with that molecular pattern in the rear foot. Now this is a little bit of a kind of semi-translucent rubber, I guess, on this one. Interesting enough, though, is this slips on the grip test ramp at 35 degrees. The Ice Blood 2 with the all-dyed rubber, or the different dye of rubber, slipped at 36. So really not a huge difference. I found that dust pickup on these was mild, but it did not matter in terms of grip. I really had no slippage whatsoever. One time on a step back, I felt just a little bit of give, and that was it. And that was maybe after, I don't know, 45 minutes, and I had not wiped them yet. And this was on this court here too, and on a clean court, I mean, really nothing. So the nice thing about this is the consistency from indoor to outdoor courts is fantastic. So if you look at the outsole durability test on these 10-second size grit sandpaper, I mean, yeah, the burr basically just cleans off that micro gritting on these. So if you got micro gritting, really consistent grip on indoor courts. I know the static grip isn't as high as some others, but the dynamic grip is really good, and it's consistent. But also on outdoor courts, it's a little bit more of a chunky tread, a little more flat, right? I mean, to me, these work well on outdoor courts too, so the consistency is really nice. Look at these things on the speed ratio. They come in at a 2.73, shank score of 0.2, bumps that up to a 2.93, so a little bit less than the Ice Blood 2. It's a heavier shoe, I think. Number one, all that rubber in the rear foot, more substance in the uppers, right? Just a hair, a little bit on the bounce height. So is it something you're gonna notice once you break them in? You might notice the breeziness in the 2s more in these ones, but you'll notice probably a little bit more containment in these ones. So do you maybe get a little more confidence in these ones versus light of footedness in the others? Feeling, like I said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All right, but getting into the fit of the Ice Blood 2 V2, really, but more the same. It does have a 15-degree inflare, so it is getting up there. This thing is swooped in. It's also what makes them feel so nimble. They do come in at 3 degrees of eversion resting. That bumps up to 5 degrees with loading, so pretty stable, allows some flex there, but not really too bad. They do come in at 28.8 centimeters in length, 8.9 centimeters in metatarsal width, 9.9 a toe box width, and a toe box taper of 29 degrees. So all in all, like the Ice Blood 2, they are pretty darn narrow shoes. The weird thing is I did not have cramping in these until way later. Like some other more narrow shoes, I'm cramping right away on these ones. I did not cramp until much later in them, less than the Ice Blood 2, which was weird. I think it's just maybe just the way these uppers are constructed. My foot personally just did better in these ones versus the 2. I would still say a narrow foot and go true to size. A medium, you can go true to size if you want a glove-like fit. You can go up 1/2 size if you want a little bit more room in there. A 2E, you better be going up a size in these. A 4E, better be going up a size in these. Even so, a 2E and a 4E, it might be a mismatch. I would probably be using shoe stretchers if you are a 2E or lacrosse balls or tennis balls, shoe last, whatever, just to get a little bit more of that room. The thing is, if you want that glove-like fit, it's here. But it is just a more narrow-footed focused shoe. Say that again 5 times fast. But with that, you do get so much agility in these. They're super nimble. These pop so easily. Especially in these ones where the upper is a little bit more rugged. You can really push off if you want to. You can really come to a screeching halt in these. And that kind of brings me to, who I'd be recommending these for. The one thing is you can throw an orthotic in them. It better be low profile. So like I had the Power Step Pinnacle in these, and they just took up the whole shoe, right? And so I was getting a ton of lace irritation with that one. If I threw something a little more low profile in there, that was a lot better. And on my left foot where I didn't have the orthotic in there, when I was testing without the orthotic, and when I just took the orthotic out of my right side, I really didn't have any lace irritation. It was when that bulky orthotic was in there. And that's just because the shoe's low volume, the uppers a little more enveloping, so there's just a lot more of them there. So I'd say, you know, on their own, heel pain, ball of foot pain, you know, arch pain, arch strain, that stuff is fine, right? It doesn't allow that much flex. It's pretty normal flex for a shoe, and they are pretty darn stable. So even on their own, they're fine, especially that sandwich shank and how thick it is and how substantial it is. It's still fine. If you want a shoe that's really speedy, really nimble, just really feels like it's popping off the ground, the dynamic bounce in these things, static is okay, but dynamic is fantastic. So it's, you know, kind of all beauty. Like I said, I keep saying this, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder with these things. If you want a more glove-like fitting shoe for more agility, more speed, and consistent grip among, you know, surfaces, this is really it. And I felt, you know, especially on the vinyl floor here, because like I keep talking about the underlayment, how bad it is on my floor, and it's just getting worse as I trample on it more. These ones, honestly, just that cloud foam plus on the bottom, plus the boom foam on the top, it feels a lot like the JB3, where it's got the light foam plus the boom, that combination of shock absorbing and bounce. And plus this one with the sandwich shank that goes along, it's fantastic. So yeah, like I said, like the Ice Blood 2, like I said, it's for the right person, it's fantastic. You just gotta be the right shaped foot and have the right volume orthotic for them. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, especially if you've come from the Ice Blood 2 and are looking to move up to the V2, let me know in the comments down below. And if you do want to see what I'm talking about with the Ice Blood 2, if you want to kind of compare and contrast directly to this one, make sure you click into this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect, rubber, and foam. I'll see you somewhere in the Sneakerverse.